and we're out here today to protest the brutal federal police invasion of the Mexican city of Oaxaca and the murder of 3 people there last Friday, 2 Mexican activists and a U.S. Journalist with Indie Media named Brad Will. My name's Dan Denver. I'm the coordinator of PCASC, and we're out here today to demand an immediate stop to the police invasion of Oaxaca and that the people responsible for the killings in Oaxaca be brought to justice immediately. And we support the people of Oaxaca in their struggle to get rid of their corrupt and authoritarian government.
Is that what the original protest is about, or was?
Yeah, people in Oaxaca have been occupying, have taken over the city for the last 5 months because they're sick of having the most corrupt and authoritarian government in the state of Mexico. The governor from the PRI party, the party of the Institutional Revolution, Ulises Ruiz, is widely known to be the worst there is in terms of sending out thugs to murder political opponents, attempting to shut down opposition newspapers, and totally shutting out the people's voice. So we support the people of Oaxaca in their struggle there.
Well, I understand that the troops that are in Oaxaca are federal, though, not.
Yeah, they've sent in federal police, and the federal police, since earlier this summer when they invaded the town near Mexico City of San Salvador Tenco and brutally murdered people there, they're well known as everyone knows to be afraid when they send in the federal police because they are the worst in Mexico.
What does the federal government want to happen? Are they willing to sit down, or are they just going to bust heads?
Well, I mean they're already in there busting heads, but the people are going to keep fighting back. The federal government's interest is in maintaining Ulises Ruiz as the governor of Oaxaca. Maintaining a government of the rich and powerful, and continuing to deny, as has been the case in Mexico for many years, continuing to deny democracy to the poor majority, and that time's coming to an end because the Mexican people are really on the move.
So this is no longer about the teachers' strike, then. This is about maintaining authority.
Yeah, I mean, it started as a teachers' strike at the beginning of the summer, but quickly when the state police tried to repress their protest and occupation of the city center, it immediately turned into a broad uprising of not only teachers but families and campesinos and indigenous people, and really the entire state rising up and saying, no, we don't want Ulises Ruiz anymore. We want real democracy.
How is this viewed in the rest of Mexico? Is there a lot of support? There's other cities in solidarity?
Cities throughout Mexico are in solidarity with the struggles of the people of Oaxaca. Throughout Mexico, the NAFTA era that began actually well before NAFTA in the late 1970s of basing Mexico around helping out foreign corporations and exploiting the workers and ruining the farmers of Mexico. People are sick of this all over Mexico and respect what the people in Oaxaca are fighting for, because it's all of their fight, really.
Is the Western corporate media handling this correctly, or are they making this look like it's like they do in this country, just a bunch of ragged protests?
The U.S. corporate media has been horrible. They refer to it as the way they describe the recent federal police invasion of the city of Oaxaca has been around. They've been saying stuff like increasingly violent protests in Oaxaca, which led to 3 people, including an American journalist, being killed on Friday, have forced President Vicente Fox to send in the federal police, which is total crap. That implies that it was the protesters that killed a U.S. journalist, when everyone knows, and it's a fact, that Brad Will was the U.S. journalist down there with Indie Media, was there with the protesters, and the 2 Mexicans killed were protesters, and they were killed by agents of the state police. And the U.S. media has basically implied that the protesters have been the people being violent in this situation, when it's totally the contrary.
How do we know that it was who you said it was that perpetrated the act?
Oh, even the government admits that. The media is just implying otherwise. They've arrested a number of people who in connection with the murders, and they're known to be agents of the state.
One last question: how are the consulate personnel and authorities here in Portland reacting to this protest?
You know, we've been out here before protesting in support of the people of Oaxaca, and their response is always pretty similar. You know, just that they'll take our message and give it to the Mexican government. But that's about all we get from them.
You think they really do give it to them?
Oh, I'm sure that whether they like it or not, the Mexican government knows that around the U.S. that you know, a dozen people were arrested in New York at the consulate there. 2 people were arrested here today, locking down at the consulate. I'm sure they know. It's important that we send that message to the Mexican government that we are with the people of Oaxaca and that we're paying attention to what's going on there, and that we will not stand by as human rights are violated and the people's movement is crushed.
Are these isolated incidences, Portland and New York, or are there a lot of cities?
No, in dozens of cities across the country.
We're here in solidarity with the people of Oaxaca, with the teachers, with the activists, with the journalists who are facing severe repression. Earlier today, just an update, 2 Portland folks, Nikki and Mateo, locked themselves to the front door of the embassy and were recently taken away by the police. And just quickly to speak on that, because apparently it was kind of funny, is Christopher Lasso with a little story.
Yo, Chris! No, it's not that funny. Hello. So yeah, I got a call that some people were locking to the door, and I got down here and there was nobody here. And 2 people were locked to the door there, and the police had quite a time getting them unlocked. We think it was about an hour. They first tried to use the regular bolt cutters, and that didn't work, and then they used some super special bolt cutters, and that didn't work. And then I don't know what they did to get the first person off, but then the second person they had to use a big saw thing, and it was kind of scary. And it was really telling, because maybe it was for their safety, but I kind of didn't think so. They brought out a big tarp and put the tarp around them and made like a wall so that you couldn't see. We couldn't see. The corporate media couldn't see. The good media couldn't see. The legal observers couldn't see. Nobody could see what was happening behind this wall, and they were trying to hide what was going on, and it was a little scary. I think it was really appropriate because of it's pretty scary what's going on in Oaxaca right now. And I think we're not supposed to be seeing what's going on in Oaxaca. The 15 plus people that have been killed in Oaxaca, I don't think we were supposed to know about that. Nobody was supposed to see that. But the world is watching, and it's great that so many people are out here now. I was in Oaxaca about a year ago, and I actually visited the teachers union and saw they have a big, huge mural on the front of their office, and it was quite beautiful. And so I'm really inspired to hear that today 3,000 teachers from a neighboring state are on their way to Oaxaca marching. It's really inspiring to hear that the Zapatistas have said that tomorrow they're going to be shutting down all the roads in their territory, and they're encouraging people to shut down the border.
Yes.
And that on November 20th, they have actually called for a nationwide general strike to support the uprising in Oaxaca. So it's really great that everybody's out here today to put pressure on this branch of the Mexican government, and hopefully people all across. I know this is happening. Yesterday in New York, I think 12 people were arrested, locking down at the consulate. People in Chicago, in Atlanta, consulates all across this country. There have been protests yesterday and today. So it's really great that everybody's out here. We should give a lot of love to the 2 people who put their own bodies on the line and put their own necks, chain themselves to this door of this branch of the Mexican government, and hopefully they'll be out and back with their friends and family real soon. So great to see everyone out here today. Let's keep witnessing and speaking out against the injustice in Oaxaca, and keep supporting the rebellion that's going on there, because we need some inspiration these days. And down in Mexico, they're inspiring the hell out of me.
Thank you so much, Chris. Next, I'd like to invite up Emiliano and Dan to give a little bit more background.
5 months ago, the teachers movement had a strike, and then which eventually very quickly caught fire and became more or less a general strike of people in Oaxaca, to the point where the people in Oaxaca, which is a city about the size of Portland, if bigger, I'm not sure, somebody fact check me on that one, but the people of Oaxaca took over the center of the city and eventually the entire town, like including government offices and everything, and started their own Popular People's Assembly of Oaxaca, which was a directly democratic organization that kind of governed Oaxaca for the last 5 months, and is still governing Oaxaca if you ask the people on the ground right now. And so we've just been kind of, I don't know, looking on the computer constantly. And so news is it's hard to get what's exactly going on because everything's, so spur of the moment now. But the people of Oaxaca essentially had guarded the city for the last 5 months until this past Friday. So from there, Emiliano will take over.
So basically, some of the other background is that they're trying to get rid of the governor, Euro, and that's the major demand. And a commission had come down, 3 people from the Congress, and 2 of them, the 2 people said, no, we think that Oaxaca is governable, and then 1 person said, no, it's not. And so the teachers decided, well, we're going to go back to classes. And then on Friday, what happened was Fox decided it was time to go ahead and intervene because, okay, so Fox decided to go ahead and intervene, and he started sending in the federal preventative police force, basically like riot cops. And on Friday, there were 3 people that were killed, one of which is the reason why a lot of this is getting media coverage, is because Brad Will, a In the Media reporter from New York City, was killed on Friday, as were a teacher and another activist. And then on Saturday, 2 more people were killed, and on Sunday, a 15-year-old boy was killed by a tear gas canister. So basically what's happening is the FPF, which is the Federal Preventative Forces, have gone into the city and are taking all the barricades down that the people of the city have put up to protect themselves and to govern the city themselves. And basically now it's unclear. The last that we heard, that the federal police had taken back the Zocalo, which is where everybody is in the center of kind of the heart of the protest, but that's really unclear. It's really hard to get any news out right now about what's going on. So it's going back and forth. But this is happening, like, as we're standing here, the people in Oaxaca are fighting against these riot police that are shooting them. There's helicopters that are flying over that are shooting tear gas canisters. It's a really serious situation. And so it's good that all of us are out here, because it's finally getting into the media here, and it's finally, people are really beginning to know what's going on, and this is a really serious, it's really serious what's going on down there, and there are people that are dying, and there are people that are fighting for their democratic rights to govern themselves, which are the kind of rights that we want. And so we should just really continue to be in solidarity with them, because this isn't stopping. Like, this is just the beginning probably of a process, because the people in Oaxaca are going to keep fighting, and we should keep fighting here in the U.S. to support them in what they're doing. So it's really good that everybody is out here today. Thank you, Amelia. And next I'd like to invite up Doug Sherman, who is a teacher here in Portland. And maybe he can introduce himself a little better than I do.
As a former high school teacher and teacher of teachers, I have a special interest in what's been happening with the teachers in Oaxaca, not only most recently, but for many years. Based on my research with teachers a number of years ago, and having visited more recently, the conditions for teachers in Oaxaca have been deplorable. They often have to work 2 or 3 jobs. The wages are extremely low, even at that. New teachers have to travel in many cases for many hours to the schools that they're assigned to. They have less and less control over what they are teaching as the federal government takes more and more control. And it's a struggle that's been going on for many years to try and improve both the wages to support their families and also their working conditions. Schools that I visited, high schools, chemistry class with 50 students and no laboratory equipment, not an overhead, not a video, not a projector, a teacher, a piece of chalk, and a blackboard. So those are the basic kinds of conditions that teachers have been fighting to improve for many years. Most recently, when the teachers' strike was, when the governor of Oaxaca attempted to break up that strike, and it grew into a popular revolution in Oaxaca State, that really tipped the balance. And I'd like to say something specifically about the commonalities, that there are more and more shared conditions with teachers here and in many parts of the world, including Oaxaca State, where the national government or corporate interests are wresting more and more control away from teachers in their classrooms, and especially in the public schools, where there is a need for more resources and more opportunities for teachers to develop their own curriculum. That has been reduced both in Oaxaca and in Mexico generally, and in the United States. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the news that's coming up from Oaxaca. My daughter is there now, and we hear from her pretty regularly. And she's directed us to useful sources of information about what's going on in Oaxaca, including the Oaxaca Study Action Group and others. And I think it's very important that all of us, obviously, and people that we're in contact with, are correcting the distortions in the corporate press in the United States. And I'd like to read just a little bit of a message that my daughter sent a few days ago in response to what was going on. This was sent Sunday morning. My ability to send you level-headed news reports has come to an end. I find myself in this moment overcome with rage in one of the first moments of silence all day. The morning and afternoon were filled with the sounds of helicopters, at first flying high in scouting mode, and then flying low in attack mode over all parts of the city. What is happening here right now is far beyond an outrage. I just got word that the federal police have shot to death a 12-year-old boy. He's the third child to die in this fight, a child. Friday was a day of action in which hundreds of barricades were temporarily erected and essentially shut down the city. She goes on to describe the killings that happened on Friday. Immediately in the morning today, Sunday, we began hearing about groups of armed vigilantes, government sympathizers who were driving around in various vehicles shooting at people. So she reports things that do not appear in the news. One more thing on the next page. Three deaths and 3 abductions of teachers were reported Friday, and at least 2 more people have died today. One a 34-year-old nurse from the Social Security Hospital. The teachers and the OPPO are firmly nonviolent. What then has the movement done to provoke the occupation of the state by military and police forces? What has it done to deserve 20 of its members and supporters murdered? I do not have the words to describe the level of injustice that is being forced on Oaxaca in these days. So please be careful about what you read in the news and pass on accurate information to your friends and family.
Yeah. Next, I'd like to invite up somebody who is a Portland indie media activist to speak a little bit about the loss of the indie media, or the loss in the indie media community of one of their own.
Other people have spoken a lot more eloquently than I can about the situation, what's actually going on in Oaxaca moment by moment. But the reason why I agreed to speak was because as a media activist, this has a special resonance with me because early on in the summer, about last August, I think it was August, a group of women, about 500 women, took over state-run media there in Oaxaca, and it was a kick-ass demo, and I mean, they took it on and they got their voices out there, and this is what this struggle is about. It's about the power to tell our own stories and to get the word out about the kind of oppression that people have been living under. And so it's very important that people be able to take back their own voices. This also has a special closeness to me because there was an indie media activist who was shot and killed down there, along with a lot of other people who were also shot and killed down there.
Next to last, we have Marlena, who is going to explain. Behind me here, there is an altar. Tomorrow and the following day is a celebration called Dia de los Muertos that's celebrated in Mexico and in Central America. And here's Marlena to speak about the significance of this altar.
Right.
Can you hear me?
What we do traditionally in the Mexican culture on November 1st and 2nd is honor those who have died. We mourn at their death, but we also celebrate their life. And you see the altar here behind me, which contains candles, some photos of the actions that were taking place in Oaxaca. And one thing that we also do in the farm worker struggle and the Chicano rights movement, when we remember those who have passed, we say their name, and then we say Presente, which means that they're gone, but their spirit is still with us. And I have here the names of 3 of the teachers who were killed recently, as well as Brad Will. So let's go ahead and give them a presente. You all know what to do.
You want to lift it higher?
Eudocia, Lopez, Presente. Esteban, Lopez, Presente. Brad Will, Presente. Emiliano, Fabian, Presente. Presente. La lucha sigue? Presente. The struggle continues. Something that we also do in the struggle is the farm worker clap. Who knows that? Because I've only got one hand free.
I got it.
Somebody has to know that. Si se puede is also a saying that we use in the struggle. It means that we can persevere, we can stand in solidarity. No matter what happens, they can cut down all the flowers, but they can't stop the spring. So, I'm going to have Dan here. You guys, start clapping very slowly, and then it gets faster and faster and faster and faster and louder and louder and louder. And I ask, ¿se puede? And you answer, sí se puede. ¿Se puede? Sí se puede. ¿Se puede? Sí se puede. 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 Sí se puede.
Come and just speak on the mic. I think we wanted to make this a pretty informal event. I asked people to keep comments short to allow other people to speak.
Excuse me. Earlier when I was out here today, I met with, well, I met several Mexican people out here, and I was speaking to them, and I was really surprised by the way they were talking, as if how they didn't understand why I cared. They were surprised I knew about it, and I think I can tell by just looking around us that they really are kind of disinformed as to how much we support them. And I was telling them that I go, regardless of all these fences that they're building up and all this garbage and so forth, you know, it took years for the Berlin Wall to fall. And it will fall, and you are our brothers and sisters, and we care for the Mexican people as we care for our neighbors, because they are our neighbors.
Woo!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Hernandez, and I know some of you know me. I know what's happening in Oaxaca is very bad, and I've been as far south as Mexico City, but never there. I have family that live in some family that live in Chihuahua City, and I'm pretty well they're well informed. Folks, we must understand. Not only is this important, there's a big election that's coming up, and I think on the night of the election we should be out in full force, because our government still continues to lie about the death count in the Iraq war, and there are a lot of people that are really angry and fed up with it, and the neocons think that we're going to just sit back and not do anything. We should get out and really rally, and we should take the streets like we did 3 years ago in one big mass and just take over without a permit, because I'm tired of the war. It's time for us to take the streets in a huge mess like we haven't done for like quite a few years, because we know this election is important. We've got to tell the media and our representatives, no more war. No more war. This war has got to end, and we've got to, maybe somewhat unradical, we've got to tell our Congress the Iraq war has got to end now. No more war.
Yeah.
I was talking with friends in Oaxaca today who say that APO has established a new planton, a new base in front of the Santo Domingo Cathedral. And there's also a human rights organization who set up a table there where families are coming, families and friends, to report the people who have disappeared. We know there are 22 people who have been killed, but people are now being disappeared, and their bodies are being found down by the train tracks. So the disappearances are a new strategy. It's also important to remember that Calderon, the fraudulently elected president-elect of Mexico, is going to be coming to visit the fraudulently elected president of the United States on November 9th. So it will be very good if we can build this resistance and really make a show on the 9th. Thank you.
I want to thank the Portland Central America Solidarity Committee for organizing this event. It's a very important call for solidarity action with an international call for solidarity out of Oaxaca from the APO. So thank you very much for doing that. I'm Eduardo Martinez Zapata with the Freedom Socialist Party, who is also in solidarity with this call for the APO. And wanted to give a shout out and recognition to the indigenous population of Oaxaca and the women of Oaxaca who back in June inspired the takeover of the government buildings there and really gave rise to the revolt. And it is there within those groups that the future success of this revolt lies. So we want to just say a big shout out to the women and the indigenous groups of Oaxaca. And I know there are a lot of folks from Oaxaca here. I work with a lot of students and families here in Portland from Oaxaca that are in solidarity. Our role here in the United States is to give that solidarity and to unite in the mass movements here, the anti-war movement, the labor movement. These were striking teachers that gave birth to this too, and get behind them. Without the United States looking and supporting this, the Mexican government will keep escalating the repression. So here's to adelante, el pueblo de Oaxaca, and for us here in the U.S. too. Thanks a lot.
Feliz Día de los Muertos. Y yo soy mexicano y indio. Y gracias a Dios que podemos hablar en diferentes idiomas y comunicar con toda la gente. Y tengo esta máscara porque yo lloro para la gente que está muerta. Y quiero que seamos unidos, aunque el gobierno no quiere que seamos unidos, pero si somos familia, todos no somos niños del sol y mexicanos en nuestro corazón. Okay.
This past summer, made an acquaintance, because I'm a retired teacher myself, made an acquaintance with a Mexican teacher, and basically he had to leave his family, his kids there at the end of the school, come and work in the summer, work here in the summer, minimum wages, so that he would have enough money to survive. So those are, and by golly, let me tell you, he had to do this several times. But the other thing I wanted to say was that let's look at the big picture. At the same time that we're building a wall across the border, right? A 700-mile wall. What is the government telling the teachers? It's telling their teachers and all of the other workers that they must accept any kind of working condition. And I think that this is really the big picture in all of this. Of course they could have settled the strike. Of course they could have come down with some kind of agreement so that the teachers would have some dignity. But perhaps that's not really what they wanted to do. Perhaps they wanted to present such a dramatic scene So they have to take every thought away from any teachers resisting for not only teachers, any workers in their efforts to improve their lives. I hope you understood what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Hay unos mexicanos, mexicanas, centroamericanos, latinoamericanos, americanos que quieran hablar. Es que podemos traducir si algunos que necesitan. Estoy buscando.
He needs translation. I'm gonna try to do this in English. Okay, I'm from Oaxaca. I just want to thank you guys for coming here, for showing solidarity the same way Brad did with all people. Just thank you for to try to make humankind better for everyone. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Hermanos, aquí, ahora, todo el mundo en un segundo. My mother was a teacher on the border. I grew up I would hang out with my mother when she would teach her students, and most of the people in my mother's classroom were not American citizens, and she would teach them anyways. I remember days when I was a little kid when there was not fences on the border. I would watch my mother take pictures of people playing in the Rio Grande River before they built the fence. I hope to see a day where people from both sides of the border, from la ciudad de Juárez and la ciudad del Paso, Texas, people from both sides, hermanas y hermanos, swimming together in peace. Gracias.